Mother relay. We're covering today's top boxing news.
Okay, we'll start with this. A few words from Natasha Jonas, a few words from Lauren Price ahead of their fight this Friday. Experience, accuracy, timing, boxing IQ is why I win. I do believe she'll bring the best version of her, and I'm prepared for that, says Natasha Jonas, the unified welterweight champion, where Lauren Price says,
I'll be getting my hand raised on Friday. I know how good I am, and I believe I win this fight. I agree with Lauren.
I think she's going to win it. And if and when she does, how will that reflect the current rank standings of the Ring IQ pound-for-pound list when Natasha Jonas, she is there. She is there in the lower tier, and it's getting harder and harder to get to the top.
Harder!
Natasha Jonas ranks in at number 7, behind 3-division champion Terry Harper, undisputed champion Alicia Baumgartner that beat Terry Harper, 3-division champion Jo Valle, 2-division champion Tina Ruprecht, who beat Jo Valle, Clarissa Shields, and Katie Taylor. That's how the list stacks up right now. If Natasha loses on Friday, where does Lauren come in?
She won't come in at number 7.
The rules are that in defeating a pound-for-pound fighter, you become one yourself, but that doesn't make you as accomplished as they were with all the career accolades they had. So when you beat a pound-for-pound fighter on this list, your career accolades so far are measured against the career accolades of all the other fighters on the list, and that will determine where you rank. That if Lauren beats Natasha, that doesn't make her a 3-division champion like Natasha, having beaten as many champions as Natasha. What you did was you beat a fighter at their 3rd weight.
You have to account for that.
The more a fighter moves up and down in weight, the more they lose. They lose a little bit.
You have to account for that.
The way this list accounts for that is, just because Natasha was at number 7 and you beat Natasha, that doesn't mean you come in at number 7, because I reiterate, Lauren's not a 3-division champion.
The way it is.
Break it down.
Natasha Jonas will be ejected from the list. Michaela Mayer will advance to number 7. Gabby Fundora will advance to number 8.
Lauren will come in at number 9 for becoming a unified welterweight champion, having beaten 2 champions in Jessica McCaskill and Natasha Jonas, but not being undisputed like Gabby Fundora or being a 2-weight champion like Michaela Mayer. If Lauren wins on Friday, she comes in at number 9.
If Natasha wins?
Not a scenario that I think we have to entertain. I think Natasha's going to lose, but if she wins, she will climb from number 7 up to number 6, past Terry Harper, who will drop down to number 7. The reason for it: even though when Terry and Natasha fought, the fight was scored a draw, Natasha will have collected a more high-quality scalp than any scalp that Terry has collected in recent memory, and any scalp that she's about to collect. She's about to fight Germany's own Natalie Zimmerman, a domestic-level fighter. Unbeaten, yes, but not better than beating unbeaten Lauren Price, assuming Natasha beats her. I don't think she's going to.
But if she does, she'll move up.
Why not past Alicia Baumgartner? I mean, if she can beat Lauren Price, wouldn't it make sense that she move up to number 5?
Yes, depending on how she beats Lauren Price. If it's controversial like the Mayer fight, that doesn't make a lot of sense.
A lot of people don't even think she really beat Michaela Mayer. So, to move past Alicia, she would have to put on a more dominant performance against Lauren this Friday than I think she can, than I think she's going to. But if she proves me wrong and say she knocks out Lauren, there will be a precedent to move her past Alicia, because she has already been a champion at more weights than Alicia.
And Alicia hasn't been doing much of anything the last few months.
So in a scenario like that, however unlikely, it would make sense for Natasha to move past her, though it's neither here nor there, because I think Lauren's going to get her. I'm sorry to say, this could be Natasha Jonas's swan song.
Over to the collective butthurt that Gervonta Davis's fans are still feeling.
Lamont Roach said, the guy who scored the fight for Tank gave him that round. If the knockdown counts, it's a 10-8 my way, and that's a 3-point swing. So I would have won on that card too. Go back to your cave. To which Burberry J responded, it's 3 judges, champ, not 1.
Oh my god, this guy's a moron.
Lamont Roach responded by saying, you're just as stupid as you look, bitch. The other 2 judges had it a draw. 10-8 makes it a win for me too. stay out of this.
I don't think people this stupid should be allowed to drive.
Another guy who goes by the name Boxing Pro said, the WBA said, nah, we don't play that. You're gonna have to get your victory the real way, Roach.
Reacting to the article posted to the WBA's website that has since been taken down.
It would seem that Boxing Pro spoke a little bit too soon, and the official word from Gilberto Mendoza himself, the president of the WBA.
Let me repeat. I stand by what I expressed on Sunday to Ring Magazine based on my 30 years plus experience. Taking a knee without a punch shall be ruled a knockdown. It affected the result of the fight. Please stop misleading an opinion from a collaborator of the WBA website. He doesn't belong to any committee, has any influence or opinion in any matter of our association.
That's for the guys like Boxing Pro who thought that because that article was posted to the WBA's website, it reflected the opinions of the Championships Committee. That was just the columnist, and that column has since been taken down.
It sounds a lot like Gilberto Mendoza felt Lamont Roach won the fight.
Gilberto continued, I have asked the WBA's committee to follow up Lamont Roach's direct rematch case closely. However, we believe the parties, as expressed in the post-fight interview, will amicably agree to run it again.
I heard a rumor they're looking at June.
It's just a rumor, don't shoot the messenger. It's just a rumor, so treat it as such. But I heard that one date that they're looking at is in June.
They need this to happen quickly. If they had any kind of arrangement with Jake Paul before the Lamont Roach fight, they can't really move into that until they settle this matter.
And the New York State Athletic Commission, their ruling, what about them?
I figure that if they're serious about doing a rematch, the New York State Athletic Commission may not do anything at all.
There will be no need.
If the two combatants and their two teams make a decision to settle this amongst themselves, there's no need for the New York State Athletic Commission to do anything drastic.
Let me rephrase that, because there still would be a need. This still is an injustice.
Rephrase it.
They won't be under pressure anymore to do something. They won't be under pressure to do anything if the two teams decide to go into a direct rematch. So on that premise, maybe they don't do nothing. Maybe they suspend Steve Willis for a couple of weeks or something, demote him to doing smaller shows in the chicken gizzard circuit.
Keep him out of the spotlight, out of the public eye.
Out of sight, out of mind. That's the logic. While all of this feels eerily familiar, I remember the first Wilder versus Fury fight. That fight ended in a draw, like this one.
We know what happened in a second.
Deontay Wilder was beaten from pillar to post in the second fight and the third. Could that happen to Gervonta Davis? Boxing is the theater of the unexpected. And I don't think when Gervonta's people made this fight, they expected a kerfuddle this size.
It would seem that before they are at liberty to move into anything else with anyone else, they got to deal with this.
There has to be a reason Jake Paul posted that video of himself beating up a cardboard cutout of Gervonta Davis. What was he implying? What was he trying to get across? That could be very lucrative for Gervonta Davis, even though I struggle to wrap my head around it.
Around what?
Gervonta, a lightweight, versus Jake Paul, a cruiser.
Is there even a middle ground for a discrepancy that size?
This still qualifies as a cherry pick gone wrong, because things certainly didn't go right on Saturday night. This is not what Team Davis expected, no matter what they want to say after the fact, and no matter how many of the fans in their cult want to clean it up for them.
Upstairs in the men's junior middleweight division, a brief exchange between IBF champion Bakram Murtazaliev and unbeaten up-and-comer Virgil Ortiz.
23-0 versus 23-0, said Bakram Murtazaliev, to which Virgil responded with a looking emoji. He seems receptive to this suggestion that these two should fight.
Bakram continued on his own social media saying, I need the biggest fights, but they keep offering me to fight no-names. What's the point of that? I'm getting bored with all these promises. Any fighter with a name or a belt seems to have disappeared. Come on out. I'm not as scary as people say. Fans deserve the best.
To which a guy who goes by the name Knockout Mike responded, Champ, make a video and call out Virgil Ortiz and post it here on X. They will feel obliged to fight you. To which Bakram responded, I'm ready. Ask him if he's ready for the fight.
Bakram hasn't been doing much of anything except growing his beard from the time that he beat the crap out of Tim Tszyu. It's looking more and more like Tim might end up returning to the ring before Bakram, and he's the one that took a shellacking.
Tim's supposed to be coming back in April against Joey Spencer, whereas Bakram's people, Kathy Duva, is aiming for a June return, and he's the guy who looks like he didn't even break a sweat in their fight.
Kathy Duva's still around?
IBF junior middleweight champion Bakram Murtazaliev has been medically cleared to resume training without limitations, and Kathy Duva of Main Events gives an update on what could be on the horizon. The 32-year-old undefeated champion Murtazaliev, 23-0 with 17 KOs, hurt his right hand prior to facing Tim Tszyu in October. With an injured hand, Murtazaliev still performed a demolition job on the former WBO champion Tim Tszyu, scoring a third-round TKO. That night, Tszyu was a considerable odds favorite, and Murtazaliev introduced himself to the boxing world as a major player with a massive stoppage. On Prime Video, major player is an overstatement. If he were that major a player, he wouldn't be struggling to find an opponent. Bakram Murtazaliev was recently given the all-clear by his doctor to start training, said Duvia. The good news is that his hand feels good. Ramadan starts on Friday, so he plans to begin training earnest after Ramadan ends in late March. In the meantime, we will wait for the result of the Fundora versus Booker fight and begin to consider all of the available possibilities for a fight sometime in June. But at this point, other than the general desire to unify titles, there is not yet a clear plan in place for Bakram's next fight. That must be why he's complaining and eyeing Virgil Ortiz.
It's a fantastic fight, don't get me wrong, but I'm not holding my breath for it to happen, because if you're Virgil and you're Golden Boy and you're already WBC interim champion, if you stay that course, you get a shot at 2 alphabet titles instead of just one against the more beatable guy.
So why roll the dice with Bakram is what they've got to be asking themselves. If you ask the fighter, they'll fight anybody. That's what they all say.
But not their managers and not their promoters.
Bakram was a guy whose career was happening away from the public eye for a good amount of time, taking step-aside deal after step-aside deal on the PBC side of things to allow Jermel Charlo to unify titles at the weight. So the audience at large was largely ignorant to this fighter, what he looked like, and what he could do. But he definitely made a splash in October of last year,
having spent a considerable amount of time on the non-televised portions of PBC shows.
a result of all those step-aside deals that he took, though he definitely made an entrance.
Now what?
I don't think he's gonna get Virgil, being honest with you. What I would like to see is a Bakram Murtazaliev versus Sergey Bohachuk fight, or a Bakram Murtazaliev versus Israel Madrimov fight, because all these guys are cut from the same cloth, and they got the same problem. They are high-risk, low-reward fighters.
Even Bakram? He's got a belt.
Yeah, he's got a belt, but how much money do you think you're gonna get rolling a dice with him and letting him beat the crap out of you?
He's a high-risk, low-reward too, even with a belt.
Do you see a lot of guys piping up to fight Bakram? Are they lining up? Did I miss it? Just saying, there's a big difference in what I would like to see and what is likely. And it's not likely he gets Virgil.
Men's light heavyweight news. Word has come down from the World Boxing Council president, Mauricio Suleiman, who said the WBC have now officially ordered Dmitry Bivol to defend his undisputed light heavyweight world titles versus David Benavidez next, which you can imagine throws a monkey wrench in their plans to do a Better Beef trilogy. But with Ramadan having started, Better Beef was not immediately available anyway because he is a practicing Muslim.
If it's up to me, Dmitry and David fight next. If it's up to me, you do it quickly, and you do it over the summer months as one of those Ring Magazine cards Turkey's been planning. These two boys are practically on the same schedule anyway. David fought a few weeks before Dmitry fought, so there's no reason it shouldn't be next.
Yes, there is. David doesn't want it.
In my previous video, we talked about a Fight Hype interview where David Benavidez himself made the suggestion that he would be willing to fight on the undercard of Better Be versus Bivol, he didn't sound all that pressed about fighting for Undisputed, making suggestions like that.
Stop beating around the bush. I think he's hiding behind the trilogy. I think he would prefer that they fight for a third time so that he's not under pressure to face Dimitri.
That's why he's the one who made that suggestion, that he'd be willing to box on the undercard of the trilogy. Before that, while in Saudi for all of 15 minutes, he made a separate suggestion that he would be willing to fight Callum Smith. So the way this could break down, Dimitri may end up vacating the green belt, which could be on the line in the Benavidez versus Smith fight. Callum Smith, the WBO's interim champion, and one of 3 separate mandatories in the queue for Dimitri.
It's a sensible fight. I like it. I've said that more than once.
Curious elements in association with this story is that the World Boxing Council is in bed with Turkey, and everybody knows that Turkey wants to make a trilogy between Dimitri and Artur, so why they would so elect to order this fight knowing that?
They don't want a Russian holding their title, man. That's what I've been telling you.
When that entire situation between Russia and the Ukraine kicked off, they were very Johnny on the spot to not only take a side, but remove all the Russian fighters from their rank standings.
Likely because Russian fighters don't bring them that much money anyway.
Yeah, but Dimitri's in bed with Turkey, and Turkey brings in a lot of money, so if you take the title from him, doesn't that shortchange your percentage, your sanctioning fee?
Maybe they would still prefer that an American national of Mexican descent hold their title than a Russian national.
It's all very peculiar, but I don't think Dimitri versus David will be the next fight we see. I'd love to be wrong about this,
But I don't think I will be.
David is far too simple a fighter for Dimitri Bivol. He already faced a better pressure fighter, a better, stronger pressure guy.
A more well-schooled pressure guy in Artur Beterbiev, and he handled that guy for all of 24 rounds, that if Artur couldn't stop him, you can't stop him.
What about the sparring stories? And what about Peter Berg saying that David dropped him with a jab?
How many times do I gotta tell you that I ain't got no stock in sparring stories? Zerto did well in sparring with Dimitri, didn't do well in the ring. Martin Bacoli did well in sparring with Joseph Parker.
He didn't do well in the ring. This sparring session likely took place a long time ago when Dimitri was probably greener than he is now.
That a lot has happened since then, enough that I ain't got no stock in no gym stories.
I think Dimitri takes him to school if they do fight.